What's going on today, guys? It's Crossing the Line with Dev. I apologize if the camera quality is bad, if the mic quality is bad. I'm currently on vacation right now, so I'm recording this in the hotel. But I just wanted to hop on to talk about the NBA Finals, a little bit of MLB news, a little bit of NFL news, and then we'll kind of round it out with some DC and Marvel news. Because there's a little bit of news just in every section today. But yeah, next week I'll be back at my recording area with my, normal mic, my normal camera, everything. Just this week, it'll be from a laptop and some AirPods. So I apologize if it is bad, but let's go ahead and get started because we had a big game three tonight in the NBA Finals. But I wanted to start off with game two just so we can get an understanding of how this series has gone. Remember, the Pacers in game one shocked the world and completely upset the Oklahoma City Thunder off the back of a couple big shots by Tyrese. Everybody on the bench played well. So then we hop into game two. And remember, in a series, us fans kind of know who the better team has been all year. But sometimes you just get shocked. Sometimes teams just play better than expected. But we go to game two, and the Thunder just have one of their Thunder games. The defense plays well, Shea plays amazing, everybody is hitting shots, and they're stopping pretty much every star player on the Pacer from scoring a bunch. I mean, Pascal only had 15, that's pretty low for him. Neesmith did well, Miles Turner had more points than expected. Tyrese only had 17 points. Like, they just played incredible defense that game. And on the Thunder side, Shea had 34, which is pretty average for him. That's pretty much what he scores every game. Jalen had 19. Chet had 15. Caruso off the bench had 20. Aaron Wiggins off the bench had 18. These are both two teams that are incredibly deep. They can play big minutes from the eighth, ninth guy, and they'll give you great minutes. But the Thunder bounced back in game two, completely blew them out. I mean, it wasn't really a great game beyond the second, you know, the middle of the second quarter, maybe. So then we hop into game three, and I think all of us expect the Thunder had the better season. The Thunder have the MVP. The Thunder looked better throughout the playoffs, have better defense, have bigger names, have a more cohesive team. I think we kind of all expected the Thunder to easily take this series. Unless you were a Pacers fan, I think we all expected the Thunder to just, after beating the Nuggets, to just be the better team in every series they were in and completely win outright. But that's not how this series has gone. We hop into game three. The Thunder go up by 8 in the first quarter. Then the Pacers jump back in the second quarter and outscore them by 12. So at half, they're up 4. The Thunder in the third quarter the Thunder outscore the Pacers in the third quarter by 9 points. So at this point, they're up 5 going into the fourth quarter. But then the Pacers just have one of their clutch Pacers moments, and they outscored the Thunder by 14 in the fourth quarter. 14. And to start off this game, I mean, Tyrese was being pretty aggressive. He had a couple big shots. He was making a couple big threes. Benedict Mathurin off the bench had 27. He was their leading scorer. TJ McConnell had some big minutes, scored 10 points. Tyrese had 22, 9, and 11, almost a 22-point triple-double. Pascal had 21, but that's pretty average for a Pascal game. But he had 29 or 21 points. So the big scores on the Pacers tonight were Pascal, Tyrese, and Benedict Mathurin. And I think sometimes we're all confused by Tyrese Halliburton because every time he is aggressive, he does incredibly well and his team succeeds. But he's not a guy who wants the ball in his hands the entire time. He wants the ball in his hands to dish out to make the right play. But every time he wants to be aggressive and shoot big shots, drive it to the basket, hit deep threes, he performs well. He performs with any one of the top players in the league. But he just likes to be selfless and dish the ball around. But it's crazy to look at the lineups and what players got minutes. I mean, there's 10 players that played minutes for the Pacers in a NBA Finals game. And the same with the Thunder. So these teams are incredibly deep. Tonight, they played incredibly well defense on Shay. He didn't score a lot. He usually is at least 30 points. Shay tonight had 24. Chet had 20. It's a big game for Chet. Jalen Williams had 26. That's a pretty good game for Jalen Williams. But you cannot expect your team to win the NBA Finals if Shay is not your best performing player. Now, we can have outlier games where Jalen goes off and has a big game and outscores Shay. But if Shay isn't at least in that 28-point range and, shooting big shots, getting to the free throw line, at least in the majority of the series, they're just not going to win. This team has performed the way it has off the back of Shay Gilders Alexander scoring 30 a night, having 7, 8 rebounds, somewhere in that 5 to 8 range for assists. Jalen's a great Batman. I don't know how well Jalen Williams would perform Jalen is a Robin. I don't know how well Jalen Williams would perform if he was a Batman on a team. Now, I could be wrong, and he could be Jalen Brunson, where Jalen Brunson was looked at like Robin, then goes to the Knicks and is the best Batman, one of the best Batmans in the league for his team. But this team is built for Shay to be the star. And tonight, Shay got shut down. Now, the rest of the team tried. I mean, when Lou Dort has 12-point game, that means he probably made 4 threes. Jalen Williams had 26. Chad had 20. That's what you want to see from those guys. What you don't want to see is 42 minutes from Shay with only 24 points. And so Tyrese, Benedict Mathurin, Pascal Siakam upset the Thunder in this game. And I think this is about time where the Thunder are starting to really get worried. Because you can look at game one. If a team wins one game in a series, you can kind of throw it up to a fluke. But if a team wins more than one game in a series, especially in an NBA Finals, I think that not only puts confidence in their game, confidence that they can win the chip, but it also starts to scare the other team that they're playing against. Because I think now the Thunder are starting to think, wow, this team is better than we expected. They're clutch. They can win at any moment in the game. Doesn't matter if it's the first, second, third, or fourth quarter. Even if they're down in the fourth quarter, they can still find a way to bounce back and clutch up and win games. And I think Tyrese Halliburton and this Indiana Pacers team sees it. They sees the light at the end of the tunnel. They understand that they belong here and they're not going anywhere. And I do think my opinion has changed on how this series was going to go. I thought maybe this series could get to 6 games at best, but the Thunder winning it. But I think the Thunder are starting to let this slip. And if they don't come back, bounce back in game 3, tie this series up, this is going to be a sad NBA Finals for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I'm not sure, after all they've been through this season, how well they've performed, that if they lose this series this year, I'm not sure they'll ever win one. But if this Indiana Pacers team wins the NBA Finals, I think we'll look at this team a lot differently. We'll look at Tyrese a lot differently. And I think we will see this team again and again and again because every year they take a step forward. It was, wow, they finally made the playoffs. Then it was, wow, they finally won some NBA playoffs series last year. Then this year, series after series after series. Now they're in the NBA Finals, up 2-1 to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who had the best record in the league this year, maybe behind the Cavs. I think the Cavs probably had the best record this year, but a team with an incredible win-loss record, number one seeded from the West Coast, with the MVP on their team, is down 2-1 to the Indiana Pacers. They won by 9 tonight. 9. And they were down 5 going into the fourth quarter. That's how well this team performs, especially in clutch big moments. And I'm happy to see it. I've always been a Tyrese Halliburton fan. He's just incredibly fun to watch. I don't care if he scores 10 or if he scores 40. This Indiana Pacers team behind the back of Tyrese Halliburton is incredibly fun to watch. And they're the underdog in this story. And I would like to see if they can go all the way. Now, I do still think the Oklahoma City Thunder have the better team. They have an MVP who is lights out. They have role players who could start on any team, but they have a guy on the eighth, they have the 8th guy on the bench who could probably start on most below 500 teams. Like, these teams are deep. Now, I'm surprised they're doing it with Benedict Mathurin coming off the bench scoring 27. Ben Shepherd got 18 big minutes. They're confident in these guys. Thomas Bryant had 3 minutes. TJ McConnell had 15 minutes. I'm a TJ McConnell fan. I'm happy to see that his career is flourishing with the Indiana Pacers. Now, Nesmith played 22 minutes, only had 7 points. Miles Turner had 2 rebounds for their center, had 2 rebounds, 1 assist, and 9 points. He didn't play incredibly well. Nembhard, 33 big minutes, 8 points. Obi Toppin, 28 big minutes, 8 points. But it was pretty much off of Tyrese, Pascal, and Benedict Mathurin tonight. But this is a team where tomorrow night, or the next finals game, it could be Obi Toppin scoring 20, Miles Turner having 18, McConnell having 12 off the bench, Ben Shepherd having some points, and Tyrese, Pascal, and Benedict not having even over 15 points. Like, this is a team where each player can perform, each player can set the tone, each player can be the reason the game flips on its head. It doesn't always need to be the star. That's what this team is built to be. That anybody can perform in it, and it's just who has the hot hand that's in this game. And as long as Tyrese is at the helm, dishing out, getting 11 assists, 10 assists a game, they don't need him to score 40. They just need somebody to score the points. That's what's fun about this Pacers team, is it's not so New York Knicks style basketball where it's Jalen Brunson is going to score 40 points and you're going to watch him play iso ball. This is whoever's open, you take the shot, you have the confidence, you make it, we'll keep giving it to you. Now, the Thunder are completely different, where Shay is going to have, in the majority of games, the most points. He's going to have the ball in his hands the most time. Now, it's not, I guess it is New York style basketball where it's Shay has the ball, you're going to watch him play ISO, you're going to watch him do his thing, and then you have some role players who are incredibly good, incredibly young, and understand their place in the system. And then every so often, there's a game where Chet goes off or Jalen goes off and outscores Shea. But for the most part, Shea's scoring 30 points a night. But I think the Thunder need to be worried. I don't think they expected it to get to this. And I don't think they expected to be down 2-1 in the NBA Finals. Because now they got to win 2 games just to be up a game. Scary place to be for the Thunder. That was just some NBA Finals. I wanted to talk about the last 2 games. Now, I think game 4, if I'm not mistaken, will be on Friday. Yeah, Friday. So let's hop into some MLB news. We just have one big story to talk about. Shohei Ohtani, remember, gets the Tommy John surgery, is out, but is still a DH. So he's still hitting in every game. But the plan was to always get Shohei back to where he was so that he can pitch. He can start pitching and being in the rotation and still hitting because he's a two-way player and great at it. Shohei Ohtani finally took a significant step forward in his pitching progression. He pitched 44 pitches over the course of 3 innings that were simulated. So like practice, essentially. But 44 pitches, that's great. That is great. Especially being a Dodgers fan, I could not be more excited for this. Now, it does say that there's practically zero chance that he'll join the team before the All-Star break. But it is quite possible that he gets back in the rotation before the MLB playoffs. If we get to see Shohei Ohtani pitching at Dodger Stadium in the playoffs, can you imagine how wild that stadium would be going? This is exciting. I loved watching Shohei pitch when he was on the Angels. Was a big Shohei Ohtani fan way before he ever signed. I mean, we all were, but way before he signed with the Dodgers. I mean, just a couple weeks ago, I went to a Diamondbacks Dodgers game where Shohei Ohtani got to crank one out of the park. It was awesome. But it should be soon that we get to see Shohei Ohtani back on the mound in a Dodgers uniform for the first time since signing with the Dodgers. That $700 million contract. This is what they did it for. Because he is the best two-way player maybe ever. I mean, he is probably the only player who actually plays both ways consistently and is the star at both positions. Because you had Dion playing offense and defense, but he was primarily a cornerback. And then there was some scheme stuff around him playing wide receiver. But this would be like Dion playing cornerback all game, being the star corner, and being the star wide receiver all game. But Shohei Ohtani is going to pitch soon. And we didn't get to talk about it last week because it just happened after the last podcast. But Aaron Rodgers, NFL news. Aaron Rodgers finally signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And guess what? He got married too. I know he's dealing with some off the field issues and stuff, but he signed $13.65 million 1-year deal. And with incentives and stuff, can be up to 19.5 and 10 of it is guaranteed. And I think this is exciting for both the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers. He gets a team that pretty much makes the playoffs every year with not any great QB. So if you already have a team that's playoff caliber that didn't really have a QB to perform all that well, you put Aaron Rodgers in the system, I think the sky is the limit with this team. Their defense is great. Their offensive line is pretty decent. They've got incredibly great wide receivers now with DK. They kind of have it all. And their coaching staff with Tomlin, well, yeah, with Mike Tomlin, I think is the best Aaron could hope for. Tomlin's a great coach. I mean, it's the reason he's been the Steelers coach for as long as he's been the coach. Now, it says that Aaron Rodgers will wear number 8. You know, Terry Bradshaw wore number 12, so he didn't want to mess that up. But Aaron Rodgers finally signs. I think we all expected this, but he finally did it. Now let's go over to just some MCU and some DCU news. Remember, Mahershala Ali gets that big announcement at, I can't remember what it was, Comic-Con or something similar, that he was going to play as Blade in the new Blade films. Then they had some writers, the Writers Guild kind of shut everything down. Then Mahershala Ali didn't like any of the movies that were being written. They had to keep rewriting. They had to hire new writers. So they kind of put it on the back burner, and we never knew what was going to happen with the Blade movie. It is being reported that Marvel Studios has resumed development on the Midnight Suns movie, which means Blade will finally make its appearance in the MCU. Now, this could be years from now, because remember, it takes a long time to make a movie. But this is quite exciting. Also, we got some news. Scarlett Johansson came out and said that Black Widow will never return to the MCU. She gave her explanation for why. Thor, Chris Hemsworth came out, was pretty much gave like the Captain America speech after the last movie where he says, was so happy to be a part of this franchise. Sorry I can no longer, continue going. My character is no longer in the films. He kind of gave one of those Instagram posts. And so it kind of seems like Thor maybe won't return to the MCU past the next Avengers movies. Not incredibly sure what's going to happen with Thor. I know James Gunn came out and said that he wished he would have done better. There's kind of been a lot of MCU news. James Gunn came out and explained some plot developments for the last Guardians movie and why it needed to end the way it did, and the route that Marvel wanted to go versus the route that he wanted to go. He wished he would have done better with Adam Warlock. He didn't like how that character turned out. And so there's been a bunch of big rumors with James Gunn now being at the DCU, Marvel being MCU. Remember, we have Ironheart coming out soon. Avengers got pushed back 7 months. The Avengers movies got pushed back 7 months, both respectively. But it is exciting to see that they finally resumed development on the Midnight Suns. Midnight Suns will be a showstopper. That series is incredible. And if you haven't read the comics for the Midnight Suns, please do go ahead. And they did come out and talk about Moon Knight and if that character will return. And they kind of said it's up to the director and it's up to Oscar Isaac if they want to return. But it would be highly unlikely if we didn't get to see Moon Knight again in something. I'm hoping they escalate him to the movies because people loved Moon Knight. Anybody you talk to that had seen the series loved Moon Knight. That series was great. Oscar Isaac did great as Moon Knight. He's an incredible actor. But we're going to get a lot of big MCU news coming up with Comic-Con, with the, Disney Fest. I'm curious to see what they have in development, what they're trying to push for those two movie slotted. They have like movie slots every year where they say, block this out for this, block this date out because this is when we're going to release a movie. Now, because the Avengers movies got pushed back 7 months, both respectively, to the ends of the year of 2026 and 2027, we still have a May slot in 2026 and a May slot in 2027. And so everybody's kind of speculating what will fill those dates because they kind of canceled a lot of stuff, put a lot of stuff on the back burner once Thunderbolts kind of bombed in the box office. Even though it was a great movie, I think people have fatigue. Captain America wasn't that great. They're not sure where the MCU vision is going, what's happening. And I think Marvel is getting scared that if they keep putting out overrushed, not great storyline movies, that they're just going to lose money constantly and that we're going to get no movies. And none of us want to see that. We all want to see the MCU flourish because when those movies do well, they are so popular. I mean, Avengers Endgame was, I mean, it was everywhere. Everybody had to see it. People had to see it multiple times. Even the Infinity War, it was everything everybody talked about. It was on every Twitter feed, Instagram post, TikTok. That movie did almost $2 billion. And to get to $2 billion, that means plenty of people had to see it more than once. And so it was kind of everything about culture at the time was MCU. Even people who didn't give a shit about superhero movies had to go see that movie. And it would be nice to see the DCU flourish as well, because if the DCU flourishes, that means the MCU finally has competition and they can't keep putting out dog water. I mean, some of these movies were bad. The Marvels, that was a terrible movie. Captain America wasn't all that great. I love him playing, Cap, but I don't think a lot of people love that storyline, that plot line. The Red Hulk, and then we only got to see him for like 8 minutes at the end. So we want to see the MCU flourish. And if the DCU does well too, if Fantastic Four and Superman both do incredibly well, remember, they sold a lot of tickets so far for the Fantastic Four, which means there's a lot of buzz around this movie. And Superman comes out 2 weeks before the Fantastic Four. I'm not sure how their pre-sale tickets have been going, but what did get reported is how much the movie cost to make. It cost James Gunn and Warner Brothers and the DCU $400 million to make Superman, which is I'm trying to see because I'm curious if this is $400 million with all the advertisement or if this is $400 million just to make the movie itself. Because if it's $400 million just to make the movie itself, remember, you have to double whatever the budget was just for them to break even because you're putting half the cost into advertising and getting it out to the world and, previews and all that stuff. So if it costs $400 million to make the movie, that means it's $800 million for them just to break even. That means it has to be a $1 billion movie just for Warner Brothers and DC Studios to make money, which is pretty hard, and not a lot of movies have hit that point. But if any movie can do it, it's a movie with an IP like Superman. Now, I don't like the way the previews looked, but a lot of people did, and I'm definitely going to go see the movie. So I will have an opinion on the film once it comes out in, the end of July? I'm pretty sure it's like July 25th or something like that this movie comes out. Maybe that's when Fantastic Four comes out and Superman comes out like the 12th or 13th. Can't remember exactly. The 11th. But I will be going to see this movie on opening day, and so I will have an opinion about it on that next podcast. Now, guys, that's pretty much all we had to talk about today. I mean, Shohei Ohtani's going to pitch again, not soon, but hopefully before playoffs. Aaron Rodgers finally signs with the Steelers. The NBA Finals is crazy right now with the Pacers up 2-1 to the Thunder. DC Studios is reportedly finally back in production on a Midnight Suns movie with Blade. We have Black Widow no longer in the MCU. Fantastic Four is doing incredibly well in pre-sale movie tickets. DCU seems to be doing okay with Superman costing $400 million to make, and James Gunn talking about big reasons why he left the MCU and what happened with the Guardians of the Galaxy's last movie plot scam. So very exciting news in entertainment and sports. And that's what I love most, and I'm going to talk about that every week, whether I have 1 viewer, 0 viewers, or hundreds of thousands of viewers. So anybody who's watching now, I am entirely appreciative. So thank you very much for being here every week and watching and commenting and liking and doing what you guys do, because I love it, the movie industry, and I love sports. And so I don't care if anybody wants to comment and be on the next episode. I just enjoy talking about these things, and I will talk about it with anybody. And I'm just incredibly appreciative that you guys are here every week to watch this podcast. Now, again, apologies for the camera quality and the mic quality. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, but I will see you guys again next week. Thank you so much. This is Crossing Line with Dev, and I hope you guys have an incredibly great week. Peace.